Hello students, welcome to P400. As you know, P400 is about object-oriented programming in C++. Before we dive into that, this is just in the orientation week a review of some of the structured programming concepts that you studied in your P360. And what you're asked to do here is basically write a simple C++ program that determines if an integer is a multiple of 7. So as you can see from here, the formula is given to us. So given any integer n, if the remainder when we divide n with 7 is equal to 0, then it's considered to be a multiple of 7. Therefore, for example, 7 is a multiple of 7, 14 is a multiple of 7. And if you use this formula, 0 also is a multiple of 7. But if you can take any other number, 9, and we try to divide 9 with 7, then the remainder is equal to 2. And since, according to this formula, if the remainder is not equal to 0, then it's not a multiple of 7. Therefore, we determine that 9 is not a multiple of 7, but the rest of these numbers are multiple of 7. The idea here is to practice writing solutions in a top-down manner. So as you can see, the simple task of determining if n is a multiple of 7 is going to be split into 3 parts. The first is to input the number from the console. The second is to use the formula to check if it's a multiple of 7. And then lastly, to display the results. So this is the basic practice that we're going to do, taking a problem, finding a solution, and writing that solution as a series of functions which create a structured solution. So these 3 functions are input number, CheckMultiple7, and display results. Now here, if you look at this document, it's clearly stated that this input number does not need to take any parameters. It returns an integer, so the integer that's given to it from the console. And the logic is that it should ask the user to enter an integer and input the integer and return it. What does this function CheckMultiple7 do? It takes in an integer and it uses the formula to find if it's a multiple of 7 or not. If it's a multiple of 7, then it returns true. Otherwise, it returns false, and therefore, that's why the return value is true. And again, similarly for display results. And if you go through these documents, you will find that there is a lot of support given to you to write this program. What you're expected to submit is you're expected to submit documented code and screenshots of the tests that are passed. So a lot of times you will see that you're asked to submit at least 2 files. The first will be your code file, and the second is going to be the screenshots verifying that you've passed. Now, once you write this program, you can put it into a file called CheckMultiple7 main.cpp and then compile it on either Visual Studio or Replit, any platform that you're comfortable with. And once you run your tests, so for example here, it says run these tests, input 0, and it should give multiple of 7. So these are the input testing values, and you're expected to test for all of these values and also show the evidence that your program actually works as it is expected. So here are the submission guidelines. Here is the rubric. The rubric is important. If you look into your modules, you will find a small little video which shows you where to access the rubrics on your assignment. And 4 points will be given for working code that meets the specifications, 3 points for good documentation style, and 3 points if you include the testing evidence and validation evidence. So all of these three items together will help you get your full points. So here is the submission guidelines. And now I'd just like to switch over to the Replit document, which, well, here is the template that will be given to you. You are free to use this template, or you can write your own program. I have used Replit. The only thing that you need to watch out for Replit is that the main program always needs to be called main, and it will not allow you to call a main program CheckMultiple7 main. So please keep that in mind. But here it is. Here's the main program. And as you can see, this is to include the input and output operation, to include strings, because you might want to use strings in your program for messages and stuff. These are the function headers. As you know, these are called the prototypes, functions prototypes, because the function is not defined here. The function is defined at the bottom, but we're just going to tell C++, these are the functions we're going to be using. And then this is the main program, and I have written all the comments for you. Declare the integer variable, call input number, which is declared here, call CheckMultiple7, and display the output. Now, the functions that were prototyped here are actually going to be defined at the bottom, and have commented out and given suggestions as to what would be a good way to write this code. And then when you run this program, you can take a screenshot of the output and submit, embed that into a Word document and submit that. Now, in your code needs to contain a header, including your name. So a banner like this with your name, the date, the title of the assignment, and the date when this assignment was written, and so on and so forth. And when you write your functions, please make sure that you give a one-line description saying this function inputs an integer from the console and returns this number to the main program. Now, know that there is no input validation that is needed in this assignment. No input validation required. So if the user accidentally enters the letter C instead of the number 1, then your program is likely to crash, but we're not concerned about that. What we're concerned about is writing good modular programs, writing function headers, and using a structured methodology to write your programs, and also making sure that the functions are defined at the bottom. Right? So with that, you have all the ammunition you need to work on this simple program.